Hello everybody, my name is Zach Pickard and I'm going to lead you through Pear Assessment 101. Okay, what is Pear Assessment? Well, Pear Assessment is an online platform for educators to create, administer, and analyze various assessments. Who is this video for? This video is for teachers brand new to Pear Assessment. We are going to assume that someone else has already made a test that you need to administer, and the various tools that are available to make administering your first test go as smoothly as possible. All right, so what are our goals for today? Our goals are to learn how to access Pear Assessment, manage your classes and provide accommodations, assign an assessment to your classes, manage the settings of your assigned assessment before, during, and after administering, and live monitor your students' progress and achievement while administering the test. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. Feel free to work along with me, take notes, pause the video where you need, whatever workflow works best for you. Open your favorite web browser. I'm going to use Chrome. Let's go ahead and navigate to our class link. Sign in. From class link, find Pear Assessment. We can use the search bar at the top to type it in to find it quickly. The icon itself is a capital E on a green background. Go ahead and click it. You should come to a page that looks something like this. Yours may look a little bit different depending on if you've used this before, what classes are synced already, but your classes should already be synced into Pear Assessment. All right, the first thing I recommend doing for everyone is to come over here to the bar on the left-hand side that expands when you hover over it. Go down to Manage Class and click that. And you're going to see here all of your listed classes, and there might even be multiple pages that you can navigate to. However, your classes might not look as clean as mine do right now. They might look more like this, and it's kind of hard to tell even what period it is. So let's go ahead and click on our classes. Click on a class. Once you have done so, come up here and click the three dots right away, and we're going to click Edit Class. This is going to take us to a page so that we can rename this class to something more appropriate so we know what class we're actually dealing with. I'm going to type in, this is 5th period, geometry. This is my semester 1 class. And we're going to put in 25-26. If you try to update class right here, it might actually give you an error. You probably need to select a grade. Geometry is typically level grade 10. I also like to come into the subject, put in mathematics, and it allows me to actually select the standards as well. So you can do that if you like, which I do recommend. Go ahead and click Update Class. And now if you come back over to Manage Class, you should see that class is now named appropriately. And I'm messed up, that should be S2. So I'm going to go back into the class, click the three dots, Edit Class, change that to S2, and re-update. All right, so go back to Manage Class, and we want to do that for all your classes. Okay, so this would probably be a good time to pause the video and change all your class names to something more appropriate. All right, once you've done that, also from the Manage Class tab, any students that need accommodations, we can set that in here. So for example, I'm going to click into that 5th period here again. And we can see some of these students already have TTS, text-to-speech. I can see what it is when I hover over it. If you click the checkbox next to a student that, you know what, they were supposed to have TTS, but it's not there. So if I click the checkbox next to that student, I can come up here to Actions and click Enable Text-to-Speech. And now I can see, okay, that student now has that text-to-speech option. The other thing we might want to do is maybe this is an English language learner, and so I want to make sure that they have access to their native language. I can check that student box, come over here to Actions again, and click on Accommodations, and yes, I can select text-to-speech, but I could also come down to their preferred language and select the language that is most appropriate. Okay, so I might want to set that to Spanish. Yeah, I can also do extra time on the test as well, so if they get twice as much time, we can set that. And we click Yes, Update. And we can now see all the different accommodations that that student now has. I highly recommend going through and doing that for each of your classes. And that way everything's kind of set and you're good to go. So now is a good time to pause the video and go ahead and take care of that portion of this webinar. Okay, next we are going to assign a test. Again, assuming that someone else has already made a test and shared it with you. On the left-hand side of the screen, we want to find the icon that looks like two overlapping sheets of paper with a dot on it. It says test next to it. Click it. Now, again on the left-hand side, but not in the dark gray box, we have multiple different filters. If you click the Shared with Me button, you should be able to find the test that you're looking for. If nothing pops up, you might have to click this Clear All button. I have seen that happen, and that should fix it. And if you still don't see it, you should consult with the teacher who was supposed to have shared it with you and make sure they actually did share it with you. Once you see your test there, though, go ahead and click it. And you're going to see multiple options up here. You can view it as a student. You can review what that test actually looks like. Right now, we want to assign that test. So go ahead and click Assign. It's going to bring up this page here. There's a lot going on. First thing, under Class/Group, we click into that box, and it's going to bring up all of those classes that we had. We can select all the ones we want to assign it to. So I'm looking at that 5th period, S2. And then if I only wanted to give it to some select students, I can click on specific students. And then when I click in here, it's going to show me all those students that are in there. For the most part, I tend to just give it to the entire class. We can set an open and close date. And if you want to, you can set a due date as well. I typically just use open and close date. I tend to leave these pretty much alone, but they're also pretty self-explanatory. If you want to open it automatically on the start date, if you open it manually in class, you can do that as well. And you can set the student attempt window and then also any tags that you want to put on it. And then there are tabs across the top here. So if we click on test behavior, right now we're in Class/Group. If we click on test behavior, there's some good options in here. Hopefully the teacher who shared it with you has already set the default settings, and you won't really have to change too much here if you're trying to give it the same way they're doing it. But I do also think it's a very good idea to check and make sure all the settings you want are set properly. So under test behavior, we got set the test type. If you want to do a class assessment, if it's a practice assessment, homework, or quiz, I tend to leave it as a class assessment because I tend to only really test on here. You set if you want to release scores or responses or scores and responses right at the end of the test. So this is what they'll see as soon as they're done. Will they see their scores or not? Will they see their answers or not? Which ones they got right and wrong? You can, so I a lot of times will set it to do not release scores or responses, and then I will release that manually later, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Evaluation method, I tend to make partial credit for any answers that have multiple answers. That's a personal preference there, up to you. I know state testing, it's all or nothing, so maybe you want to leave it as that. Okay, we can mark as done automatically, or we can do that manually. And we can see even what it does on the right-hand side when we hover over it. And that really happens for like everything, right? And so it automatically will mark it as done when all students are graded, then due date is passed. Otherwise, we can choose manually and select the Mark as Done button when ready. Show calculator. So for math, this is super important, and you want the graphing state test version. This is the one they'll see on the state test. Just be careful, you do not want the Desmos matrix calculator. You want the state test version that is actually Desmos. You can set hints and tests and stuff if you want those on or not. If there's no hints, having it on isn't going to hurt anything. You might want to turn that off if you're using questions from other sources that you're not sure if they have hints or not. And then if you want it to be a timed test, that's where it'll start activating those accommodations and whatnot. And you can set the time that you want it to allow them to have. And then you can turn on answer on paper if you want. That just allows you to manually enter test scores after the fact. You can do that anyway, though, so I tend to leave that off. Anti-cheating. You can force the test to have a password. You can force them to complete the test in one sitting. You can restrict question navigation. And then this is going to be off the require safe exam browser unless you use Chromebooks, which we do not. And then restrict navigation out of test. I tend to put that on and block them after like 2 alerts. That's just me, a personal preference there. If they're navigating out of the test, they should not be. And so notice it's a warn and block after 2 alerts or 10 seconds. If it's after 10 seconds, it's going to do the same thing. It'll lock them out. Everything else should be good to go. You can set if you want to allow them multiple attempts on this one, you can set it to like automatically allow multiple attempts. Again, personal preference there, how you want to handle things. We're not going to worry about that right now. So once you've done all that, checked your settings, go ahead and click Assign. And we'll see success, this page. Unit 9 assessment has been assigned, in progress status. Okay, now you are ready to administer the test. Back to the left-hand side, near the top, there's a clipboard with a plus sign on it, and it says Assignments. Click this. Here we can see all of our classes that we assigned our assessment to. So in this case, I just assigned the one class. We can see whether each class is in progress, or if it's paused, or if it was graded, if everyone had turned everything in. We would see that as well. We can see how many students submitted their test, and if it's been graded or not. I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and click into a class. I'm going to click into a class so we can see what it looks like when students are in their test. At the top of the screen, we are shown the average and median scores and how many have been submitted. The bar chart is showing us correct attempts, incorrect attempts, partial correct attempts, and the average time spent on each question. In the main body, we have every individual student and then live feedback on how they're progressing on the test. Sometimes you do need to refresh your page to get the most up-to-date information. The light gray boxes, as we can see here, are questions the student never even looked at. Dark gray are questions the student looked at but didn't answer. Green are correct answers, red are incorrect answers, and then yellow are partially correct answers. Right now, you can see that I actually have the test paused. Up here, we can click Resume to allow students to start activating the test again. All right, when it's paused, they can't even access the test anymore. So that's kind of how I handle them being able to get in and out. You just got to remember to actually pause it so that they can't access the test outside of the time that you want them to. If a student gets kicked out of the test for any reason, it might show them as paused also, like it does here. If you click this checkbox next to their name, come over to More, and we can click Resume. That'll let them get back into the test. Let's recap what we've learned. Learned how to access Pear Assessment. We learned how to manage your classes and provide accommodations. We learned to assign an assessment to your classes, manage the settings of your assigned assessment before, during, and after administering the test, and how to live monitor our students' progress and their achievement. If you would like a handout of the transcription of this webinar, click the link in the description. Please keep in mind that this was Pear Assessment 101. This was the bare minimum so that you can successfully administer your first test. Stay tuned for Pear Assessment 102 and happy testing.